Uh, again, not sure, new folks that are here, whether you just stumbled across MindStudio because Ken told you, or you've heard about us before. But the way I describe MindStudio in sort of a sentence is MindStudio is a platform for optimizing business processes using AI. What kind of business processes? Any kind of business processes. Sales, marketing, the executive, finance, IT, you name it, you can optimize those processes using AI. MindStudio makes it easy to learn to build AI agents. There are no technical skills that are required at all. Anyone of any age, from any background, can learn to build MindStudio AI agents in a relatively short period of time. And then once you've learned to build these AI agents, you can very rapidly build the AI agents. The average build time takes anywhere from a few minutes to maybe an hour. It's rare that you have to spend more than an hour on building really powerful agents that help you do what? Automate things you do manually now. Okay. What are those things? Using the computer, using your phone, interacting with SaaS. Those are the things we do as knowledge workers. We can now automate a bunch of those things, either completely automate them so we don't have to think about them anymore, or partially automate them. So they're doing the heavy lifting, and we're just sort of sitting back and saying, yeah, good job. Change that. Okay, but it's driving and doing the heavy lifting. Okay. MindStudio is quite popular. There's over 200,000 of these AI agents that have been built and deployed in all kinds of situations. There's like individuals using it. There are small businesses, enterprises, government. This is the British tax authority, the British, Internal Revenue Service, as we have in the US, and a bunch of others. And while these companies here are not yet enterprise customers, there are MindStudio agents running in all of these companies, brought in by employees using these tools. Okay. We are venture backed. If you want to see who's invested, there's like a bunch of interesting folks. I used to work at Google. I was CTO of MySpace Music, if any of you remember that. So like you can kind of look me up if you don't know me. It's my third venture back company as a founder. So far here, we've raised 36 million. The way I kind of, again, describe things to laypersons, if I meet somebody at a party and say like, what is it that you do? I say, well, listen, whatever business you're in, okay, it does something. And it's got these things we call business processes. And they work, right? Like you've got a business, they work. But, business owners and managers, leaders, et cetera, are always thinking like, how can I make these processes work better? How can I make them work more efficiently? How can I get them to produce better positive yield? Meaning, how can we make more money? And this is a constant thing that businesses are asking, right? And now they're starting to more and more ask, how can I make my business run more autonomously? Why? Because of these relatively new generative AI models that kind of started with ChatGPT and Claude, and now there's like lots of them. And indeed, these new technologies, these new large models, allow for the automation of things that could have never been automated before now. Okay, and so now is a great time to start thinking about how can I automate the things I do manually to make myself or my team or my company run dramatically more efficiently. The people who know best where there are inefficiencies in any company are the people that are doing those inefficiencies, meaning the people that are doing the work manually. Those are the people that know where there are inefficiencies. It's not some consultant. It's not some SaaS company that approaches you and says, oh, license my SaaS, and then you will be more efficient. Okay, don't fall for that. It is the people on the ground that are doing the work that know where they spend their time. And we believe that if you simply train those people, in this case, you yourselves are getting trained, train people to recognize what can be automated easily. And you can gain that lens very quickly by understanding what MindStudio does, how it works. You can very quickly start to see, oh, that thing, I can just automate that now. In the next 5 minutes, I can just automate that. Never think about it again. What? That's crazy, but you get that lens, Or this thing I can spend an hour and I can build myself a little tool that whenever I need to do this repetitive thing that I do every day or every week, whatever, I'll just push this button and it will do it for me. And that'll save me like hours a week of mental anguish and time. Great, you do that. Okay. So you can develop that lens very quickly. And then again, because MindStudio is such an easy tool to use, you can just then fix the problem. Not only can you detect the inefficiency, well, you can patch the inefficiency, you see? And that's the great value of it. And so, yeah, MindStudio is kind of this comprehensive solution, which is like you can learn to build yourself and do it yourself. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can hire some certified AI agent builders. There's a bunch here with you right now, okay? Some are available, some are not available. Some we've hired, like Lewis here, who's an independent, and we poached them out of the community. And so take a look at Lewis's LinkedIn profile. Lewis, maybe you could post it and look at his posts, and then you will realize how he got poached. You can get poached too by many, many companies. So do what Lewis does. Okay, and I'm not going to spend any time on this, but like there's places on our website you can find this. Lots of people from lots of important companies, think this platform is the cat's meow and think our boot camps are an awesome way to learn, and like you're in good company. Okay. What you're experiencing now is this 2-hour workshop that we do. Most people learn to use MindStudio without any workshop. They just look at our YouTube tutorials and follow our documentation. They just learn. So like you can do it yourself. You're doing this now. You can come back to one of these. We'll do another one next week. You can come back. They're all a little different. I kind of don't really have a good script for them. So you'll learn new things hopefully every time. You can also join these boot camps that we have. These are paid things, but you get a tremendous amount of value. The next one's coming up this next Monday and Tuesday. They're full days, 8 a.m. Pacific to 5 p.m. Pacific. You can take breaks. If you've got like meetings to take, you can go in and out, but generally try to like allocate that time. It's really valuable. In 2 days, we can make you an expert. There's still a bunch more to learn, but like you can get level 1 expert. Some folks here are level 3 experts. Can we again show a small show of hands, like a bunch of level 3 experts, obviously Lewis. Okay. And we do custom team training. So if you're part of a team, if you're a leader of a team, these things are absurdly valuable because we can take a team and in a very short period of time, half a day, 1 day, 2 day, you pick, level up the entire team. And then the rest of the week, the team just like transforms the org. And so these are just an insane value that you can just get now. Okay. And then, yeah, let's just start playing with the platform. I'm going to kind of skip through a bunch of these here quickly. So we'll use this MindStudio agent builder. We sit in a bunch of environments that are security, privacy, compliance, sensitive. Again, the British tax authority uses us in HR. For some reason, I think that's like the best punchline I've got on like getting people to think like this is like, I've got this. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for that. I don't know. Tell me if that makes sense to you, resonates. They very, very much care about privacy, security, compliance. It's all over HR. If they're fine with it, I suspect you don't have to worry too much about it. But if you want to worry, you can visit our trust center and you can look at case studies and all that stuff. I don't want to. No, I do want to get you guys to stop worrying. Actually, I was going to say I don't want you guys to stop, but I do. I don't want you to worry. Okay. MindStudio integrates with over 200 models, and you can just start using them. You don't need to go create your own accounts. You don't need to go get your own API keys. You can just start using models from all kinds of providers. These are just a small list of them. There's many more. And then you can mix and match, and you can compare them with one another in real time against one another. What's the best model for this part of the workflow and all of that, right? Oops, and I'm going to skip this vibe coding stuff, but recently, thank you, Lewis and Luis, and I think other folks. There's a lot of people creating content. Thank you. I'm excited to always watch it, that are kind of going into this and showing people just how crazy powerful a bunch of these things that I'm not going to teach you today are, like the ability to vibe code completely custom front ends for your AI agents and completely custom, outputs and artifacts they generate. And so there's like a lot of really awesome stuff in here. But we're not going to get to it. So sorry, tease. You can find it maybe later. Lewis can send you some links. But this I do want to spend a couple of moments on. So, and we'll demo these today here. Not all of them, but I'll show you a bunch of them. So with MindStudio, without writing any code, zero code, you can easily build in minutes full stack applications that you can use from your phone or your computer or your tablet. They've got screens and forms, completely custom. They can be pixel perfect, look like anything you've ever seen online or on app look. Interfaces, front-end interfaces. The back end is AI. A bunch of different AI models working together, doing whatever it is you want them to do. Extraordinarily powerful, countless use cases. You have the ability to build applications that run on mobile and desktop that do anything leveraging AI with custom interfaces. It's hard to explain what that means, but imagine that you're understanding that there's countless use cases for now you being able to build these applications. It is dramatically faster and easier to build these applications using MindStudio than, let's say, if you played around with like Lovable or Replit or Bolt. Those are for building potentially different types of applications in certain instances. But most things that you might want to build would be much faster and easier to build with MindStudio than those other platforms, although we do get frequently integrated with those. And so we pair well together. Well, people will use Lovable, Replit, or Bolt to build some kind of a thingy, and then they are going to use MindStudio as the AI backend to do it. Okay, so that's that. This is really powerful. We're going to build one of these. We're going to build a simple one, but you'll get to see just how easy it is to do it. It's also really easy to build applications that don't have a front end. They're just a back end. Well, why would you do that? Well, because they can be run autonomously on a schedule. And so they can, wake up at a certain time or a certain date or, every minute or whenever you want, like on a schedule, and then do something. And then they might trigger something else, or they might send you something, or they might simply check if something is happening. And if it is, then they will do something. It's like tons of applications for building these autonomous agents that are driven by schedule. The first agents I'm going to show you as these demos coming up here in a moment, and then we're going to build the first couple, are going to be these browser extension agents. These are extraordinarily powerful. We spend most of our time as knowledge workers in the browser, using different SaaS products through our browser. And therefore, having the ability to click a button and then take that information that's in the browser and send it to an agent and have it do something, countless applications here. These things are, I call all of these things, by the way, superpowers, because I kind of have no other better sort of name to call them. That's what they feel like. You can also, again, as easily as you can build these things, you can build applications that are email triggered. And so when they're like that, they automatically get an email address. And then, for example, again, I get into these situations all the time. Perhaps it's because I'm CEO and I get to see a bunch of things. Perhaps it's, I used to get into, I guess, in other roles that I've had, where I get these like threads that are like 20 messages, 30 messages. And I just can't get my head around what has been happening in this thread. I can simply forward this to an email agent, email triggered agent, and it can sort of unpack the whole thing for me and tell me the most important question: am I blocking anything? Is there anything for me to do? What are my action items? And if the answer is you have no action items, that is amazing. That is a massive unlock. I would have spent way too much time trying to figure out that I've got no action items. Now I don't have to spend any time doing it. I just like copy my agent, says, don't worry about it, dude. Or it can show me all the action items for everybody else that's on the thread. And so I can see the people that I work with. What are their action items? What things have been agreed upon? What things might be, potential issues? Like it can do kind of thinking. It can do analysis. What's happening in this thread? Are you dropping the ball? Are you, again, countless applications that unlock like massive value. And then finally, you can build AI agents that are programmatically driven. They can expose APIs, they can expose webhooks, They can be deployed as MCP servers. Even if you don't know what an MCP server is, you can deploy MCP servers. Okay. And that's awesome because, MCP servers are all the rage. And there is no easier way to build and deploy MCP servers than with MindStudio. Last slide. When we get compared to other companies, 9 out of 10 times we get compared to a company called N8N. Okay. The other 10% we get compared to a slew of companies. These are the dominant ones. The general consensus comparison is if you've used these platforms, MindStudio is easier to learn and then easier and faster to build, and specifically more instrumented for building AI-powered applications. These platforms have been around much longer than we. They bolted on AI. And N8N has done a great job bolting on AI. But we are newer. We came out of AI. And so we just do AI-powered automation. So if you want to do AI-powered automation, MindStudio is a no-brainer. If you are already using these platforms, that's typically when people start to think, well, I'm already using these platforms. Should I just stay with them? Should I add MindStudio? Should I replace them with MindStudio? Then you get a bunch of questions. Again, we frequently get paired with these platforms. We, in fact, even have integration blocks directly in MindStudio. It makes it easier to pair with these specific platforms. So, this is a great partnership thing as well. Okay, and then you can see online people talking about how MindStudio is sort of dramatically easier than N8N, spend 95% less time debugging errors, works without wanting me to pull my hair out. If N8N is Linux, MindStudio is macOS. This is sort of a common thing. Okay, enough of that. I really hate presentations. I'm not sure what I hate more, giving them or getting them. I actually think I hate getting them more than giving them. So I apologize. No more of that. Let me show you some rapid fire demos of things, okay? And then I'm going to show you some superpowers. So this is a long read. Now, this is about the movie industry, but that's irrelevant. What I want to point you to is I propose, tell me if you think I'm wrong, we spend our lives as knowledge workers reading a ton of things, trying to extract data points and meaning and sort of cluster them and bucket them and that's what we do. We spend our time parsing this kind of stuff using our mind, our mental energy, our time. It's a lot of work. Okay. I don't do that anymore. I have a little button. In fact, I've got a bunch of little buttons, right? I've got a little thing here that's a button holder, Chrome extension. I can open this thing up. It's got a bunch of little buttons. These are my favorites. We call these pinned. I also have hundreds of other little buttons available for me here. But for now, I'm going to stick with the one that I've got pinned. So whenever I find something where before I would have had to read it and spend time on it, my new approach is ain't nobody got time for that. And I just push this button. And then I do whatever it is I do. I sip my coffee. Cheers. I talk to my friends. I don't waste my mental energy parsing this junk. I have my agent spend the time doing it. And then when it's done, I parse all of these things. Yeah, it's still going. It's a long read. Might take it 30 seconds, might take it 45, might take it a minute. It's done. I can then copy this, by the way, if I want to put it somewhere, I can share it. I can also continue if I wanted to, and I could sort of say, extract all entities mentioned. And now it will go and that give me a list of people and companies, organizations, films, whatever. That's a superpower. See? Okay, and so that's cool. So I can do this on any page on the internet, minus one. There's some pages that sort of intentionally do all kinds of things to sort of obfuscate stuff where you might have problems, but the vast majority of pages you can do it. Some of those pages include YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine. I would argue that YouTube is the video web. It's an entire web. Stan, yes, you can extract emails from LinkedIn, but not directly from LinkedIn. YouTube is and I'll show you guys later how that's done. YouTube is an entire web. It's an amazing source of information Okay. And this is a conversation with Jeff Bezos. It's 2 hours. I've run this on 10-hour videos. I'm going to click the same button. So in the past, if I wanted to understand what these guys were talking about, I would try to watch this at 2 times speed. And so that would be an hour of my time and attention. The biggest thing is attention, mental energy. I can't be distracted. I have to pay attention. They're speaking quickly at 2 times speed. I've got to capture it. I got to pause it. Maybe I got to take a note. I got to remember this. Like it's a lot of effort to try to get like all this awesome data out of this video. So on one hand, video is an amazing medium. On the other hand, it's got this like fundamental flaw because of its like linear nature. But now this gets rid of that. And so I can read YouTube videos in a matter of a couple of minutes that would take mere mortals hours to digest. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if I spend an hour wanting to learn about what's happening in my industry via YouTube, well, in an hour, I can consume an order of magnitude, multiple orders of magnitude more than any of my competitors can. That's a superpower. Okay. This same thing works on any page. Again, I keep sort of making my joke of I don't encourage anybody to go to Twitter, and I don't. But I still haven't changed. I've been too busy or too lazy. If you did go to Twitter and you want to understand like what's happening without sort of getting traumatized, you can push the same button. It doesn't care what it's on. If it's in the browser here, it's going to try to grab it. Again, vast majority of the time it can do it. And now in this case, it will tell you, hey, tariffs suck. The same thing works with, again, in a different way, a similar kind of an approach is to be able to do things like this. So again, this is on Twitter, but I could just as easily do this on LinkedIn. I could just as easily do on somebody's page where they are going to be speaking at an event and it's got like a long bio about them and it says something about them. I have a special button. Again, this is called Twitter Profile Analyzer. It should really be called People Analyzer. But I can click this button. And what it does is it again kind of like looks at all of this and helps me better understand who is Gary? What does he care about? Who does he care about? Who does he communicate with? About what subjects? Who might be the people that influence Gary? So if I want to go and build a relationship with Gary, I want to sell Gary something, etc., I have an easy way to be able to get that data so that I can better understand, I can be more successful at connecting with Gary. Successful, okay? The same thing works on PDFs. Again, websites, YouTube, PDFs, 182-page financial disclosure. If you told me to go and parse this and do something with it, my head would, not figuratively, but I think literally explode. But now it doesn't. I just push a button. Got to wait 2 minutes. Probably costs like 40 cents to run. 40 cents for still having your mind. That's pretty good. Okay. 2 more things I'm going to show you, then we're going to build some agents. So this thing keeps changing because the people keep changing jobs, but let's take this one maybe. Yeah. Okay. So this is a job. Again, before running this company, I was at Google on the product side. I was CTO at MySpace. I built 2 other companies. I'm technical. And so I'm certainly qualified to be an SVP of engineering for this Appfolio company. But the problem is, how do I get them to know that? Okay. And in fact, not how do I get them to know that? How do I get their AI to know that? Because when I send an email now with my resume to a company, there's a meaningful chance that before any human sees it, an AI is going to see it. And the AI needs to know whether I'm a good fit or not. Does it let me through or not? And so in order to convince that AI or that human that I'm the right candidate, what I need to do is I need to take the things that they care about, which is what they try to articulate in this thing called the job description, and I need to map my talent and experiences, my skills and experiences to their thing. I don't need to lob my resume at them and then have them try to figure out how do those things map. I need to do the work to map them. Well, that's a lot of work. We call those things cover letters. I've always hated cover letters, actually even more than PowerPoint presentations, which I hate a lot. And so again, if I was to apply for jobs again, I would certainly use an agent like this. I can simply give it my resume. Now it knows about the job description, it knows about my resume, and while I'm hanging out with my friends, it can write a custom cover letter, point by point, enumerating why I am the best fit. I'm also the best fit for this one, and the best fit for that one, and for this one. But the problem is, I would have never applied to all these jobs because writing cover letters takes a long time. It's hard. And I don't have the patience for it. So I wouldn't have done it. But now I can. And that's amazing. Yeah, it's a superpower. Um, okay, one last thing I want to show you before we jump in. I've now raised just over $140 million for these three companies that I founded. This one so far 36, the last one was 70, the one before was 34. So conveniently like just 140. So I have a broad network of VC friends and contacts, but once in a while I like to engage in an activity I call VC collecting. I collect VCs, in this case, in an Airtable database, but that doesn't matter. You can collect them into HubSpot. Again, these don't have to be VCs. You can be thinking about this as being like leads, for example, right? Or whatever it is. And here I've got the name, the photo, the current job, current company, professional summary, their education, their key experiences, their latest posts, in this case on LinkedIn, their LinkedIn profile, and their email address. The Stan was asking, can you extract it from email? Yes, Stan, you can extract it from email. Here it is. Now, not always, some don't have it, but most of them, as you can see, have it. This database gets built in this way. So typically, kind of the most dominant way, that I do this is, what is the problem? Links don't work anymore. Is by being, let's say, on LinkedIn, and whatever, being somewhere on some page where I might not have collected yet before, and I could see this Chris Keller. And again, in the past, my workflow would have been like to kind of read about this person and to like, what are they posting about? And see like their perspective. Again, if you're going to reach out to them, everybody's reaching out to them. If you want to be successful, you've got to connect with what they care about. You got to come at them from their angle. You can't just like lob messages at them. That's silly. And then, so I would like spend time trying to understand this person. Why? So I could craft for them in 300 characters some message that would get me a meeting with them or a connection with them. Well, that's a lot of work and a lot of time. And so I don't do that anymore. I instead have a little button that I press, and that's the button. And by the way, since this AI agent actually doesn't return anything, meaning it just puts them in my thing, I can sort of continue to move on, and I can say, yeah, sure, this person looks good to me also. And then, here's another general partner at a family office. Why not? Okay, now typically I'm not sort of like this with VCs. As you get the point, it's like for the demo purposes, I'm doing this. Like I want to see, do I want to pollute my database with them or not? Do I want to talk? And anyway, and that's it. And then it just like gets all their info. Everything comes from LinkedIn except the email address. The email address gets enriched via another service. But again, the MindStudio agent just does that for me. And now I get their email addresses. And then finally, you might notice that right here, this education thing has these like curly braces. What is all this junk? These like square brackets here. Why? And here. It's because this database actually isn't for me. This database is for another agent I have that when it's running connects to this database, picks a person, understands them from all this data that I've got about them, and crafts a custom email to them and sends it to them, and then waits for them to respond. And if they don't, then it crafts a different email to them from a different angle. Okay. And in a sense, I lovingly call it my VC harassment agent. It harasses VCs until they say, yes, let's chat. And then it hands it off to me and does it. And so again, most of the time it's not running because with great power comes great responsibility. And but you can do that kind of stuff, and that's amazing. That's a superpower. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly build a couple of agents. Now I'll take questions. Actually, I'll stop here for a moment. Luis, is anybody desperately needing to ask a question?
No, I think you're going to get to this, but folks are asking if there's a A place with like pre-made agents that they can use right away.
Yep. I will show you that place. And then I'll also show you that because it's so fast to make agents with MindStudio, that even if there are pre-made agents, you might find yourself just making them from scratch. But however you want to do it, we'll show you both ways. Okay, so I'm going to go to MindStudio. I'm going to say my workspace. I'm going to say build new agent. And so the agent we're going to build, again, I'll just continue to use this as a demo because it's just a giant thing. We're going to build this agent right here. Like when we click it, it's going to grab all this content. It's going to send it to this agent. This agent is going to kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb and get us, come on, agent. Guys, still with me? I've had some network issues here today. Um, and let me try that again. And then it'll give us all of these bullet points about any piece of content. That's the one I demoed for on YouTube and all that. Okay, while it's doing whatever this thing is doing, we'll just make one and we'll run it. I'm going to say build new agent. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call mine TLDR. I can also give it an icon. Again, I just need to choose an icon and upload it, and I can do that. I'm not going to do it. I can also choose all kinds of other things about it, like who has access to it. Is it just me, or is it people in my workspace, team members? Is it specific people? Is it public? For certain kinds of agents, you can embed them. This one's going to be a Chrome extension, so it doesn't get embedded. It's like a bunch of things. But here, I'm just going to leave all these things the same, and I just gave it a name. So far, all we've done is we said new agent. We gave it a name. Cool. Agents are made of workflows. You can have one, you can have many. This one's just going to have one. Workflows have a start and an end, and they have things in the middle. On the start, we need to choose a trigger mode, okay? Run mode. There are different trigger modes or run modes. The one we're going to choose is browser extension. You can also choose these others. Again, we'll play around with some of these others. So I'm going to say browser extension. As soon as I did that, this thing showed up here. And what this means is because the platform now knows that we're building a browser extension, it says, I'm also automatically going to give you all of these things called, variables. So everybody know what a variable is? A variable is just a way to store data in a label, okay? And so it's going to give us a variable called URL, and in it, it's going to store what? It's going to store the URL of the page on which this thing was clicked. That's going to be in that URL variable. It's going to give us the metadata, which lives in the document. It's going to give us the page content. Page content is all the visible text on the page. That's going to be stored in page content. We're actually going to use that in a moment. And it's going to give us other things. Okay. And so we have these automatically. Again, so far all we've done, we said new agent, we gave it a name, and we said browser extension. Now we're going to click plus. And in this case, I'm just going to choose this first thing here, generate text. And another name for this block, these are called blocks, by the way. And as you can see, the way they work is like when you click on a block, you configure it on the right-hand side. You click on it, you configure it, you click on it, you configure. That's how it works. And so this block, another name for it could be, interact with an AI model, yeah, large language model. And I'm going to give it a prompt. I assume everybody is like prompted something like ChatGPT or Claude. And so, by the way, you can choose what model you're using here at the bottom. My default model that I've configured in my workspace setting as being default is Claude 3.7 Sonnet. But as I mentioned, we support over 200 models. If you wanted to use another model, and you simply say use, or you can click on it and read about it and evaluate it and do all that. I'll stick with Claude 3.7 Sonnet. It's fine. And here I'm going to give it a prompt, and the prompt I'm going to give it is extract all learnings. You can give it any kind of prompt. You can say, pull out all the key points of this, or enumerate all the claims being made, or like countless things. You play around with it. I really like this prompt. It's got a bunch of, in my experimentation, it's the best way to get like TLDR of something. And then I'm going to type these double curly braces. And then that's going to give me a drop down of available things I can use, variables. I'm going to choose that page content variable. Remember over here, because we said that this was going to be triggered by browser extension, we got this page content. The page content is all the visible content on the page. That's what lives inside the page content variable. Oops. That's what lives in that content variable. And so when we type this in, when this runs, the model is going to see the words extract all learnings, and then it's going to see all of those words that are on this page right here. That's what it's going to get. And then the output's going to be displayed to the user, and that's fine for us for now. And that's it. We're done. So again, we gave it a name, we chose browser extension, we typed a command, and we just gave it all the content. And now I'm just going to say publish. And now I have an agent. Now, if I want to, I can click this button to open the agent. And it says, look, this agent is a browser extension. You said it's triggered with the browser. You can run it, but it's better run from the browser extension. And so I'm not going to run it this way. And so I'm going to go back here. And so these are my favorites. They are pinned. This one we just made, so it can't be my favorite yet. And so I need to click on this M, and that's going to open up the side drawer. What is happening with my computer? Sorry guys, let me close some of these tabs. Let me close Chrome here for a second. I think it may have been because I tried to upgrade Chrome maybe and didn't do it. Leave site, you guys are not going to leave me. Cool. Chrome. Mute all. Thank you. Okay, let's try that again. Apologies. And so I'm going to go to my demo. I'm going to find my, man, my mouse is doing awkward things too. And then I'm going to click on this button and, oh, Louis, are you by chance experiencing it? There it is, man. I don't know what's going on. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Again, could be internet traffic, who knows. Okay, there's our little TLDR, or I'm just impatient. But typically these things are much faster. Here's that TLDR button we made. So I can click run. And then again, it's grabbing all of this stuff. It's sending it to this agent. And this agent is going to go through it, and it's going to extract all of these bullet points. That's what we get back, a bunch of bullet points, yeah? And again, the same agent that we built also works on YouTube and works on PDFs and works on Twitter and works on whatever website you're on. Again, -1. And that's really powerful because, again, I took a couple of minutes to build it, but we'll soon see that you can build these things, obviously, even faster by doing this. So let me build you another agent. Now, instead of building it from scratch, I'm going to go over here to build, and build has all of my agents I've published in my drafts, okay? And so here's that TLDR agent we just built. Now I'm going to click on these little 3 buttons, and then I'm going to say duplicate. And so now we just made a copy of it, okay? And so I'm just going to give it a name, and I'm going to build an agent called stock analyst, okay? And so I just changed its name. I'm not going to change anything about this agent except for this. I said, do a fundamental analysis on this stock. Now I'm going to publish it. Okay. We just built a new agent. Well, let's try it out. We can be on whatever, some page, Yahoo Finance, let's say. It's got a bunch of information about a stock. I now have a new little button that I made. Hopefully we won't have to wait too long for it. There it is. I can say run. Going to grab this page, and it's going to do the things that I would need to do manually, and it's just going to do it for me, okay? And it's going to help me understand, you know, some performance trends and trajectory and strengths and weaknesses, and, you know, that's freaking amazing. Again, I don't know what to call this thing other than a superpower. Like what? What did we just build in, what, 30 seconds? Build. It depends on who you are. You'll build different buttons. And again, even if this is all you do, you build the TLDR agent, you make a copy of it, and you just change what this thing says and publish it, You can make countless superpowers for yourself, your team, your company. You can wow people. It's amazing. Okay, do it. Think about it for your own thing. Do that. That's what you should do first. Okay. But why stop there? Right? We don't stop there. A couple of things I want to show you here. One is here, I wrote all of this, manually. But we have a thing built into MindStudio. So instead of writing the prompt manually, I can click right here at the bottom right of this little text area, edit in full screen. And so this just lets me edit the prompt in full screen. Also here, you'll find this little button called Generate. And here I can say, like, provided with a stock, do a fundamental analysis. Yeah. Again, you can be very dirty. Like, I've got this capitalization, I'm going to leave it in. You can misspell everything, doesn't matter. It's not a very good prompt. But what this thing is in charge of is taking this crappy prompt, or I call it lazy prompt, and putting in some effort and making it kind of more structured so that I can then take a look at it and say, yeah, but I didn't mean that. I don't want that. I want it to be a different way, etc. And so it can take the first pass or the first and last pass at writing this prompt. And now I've got a much more sophisticated prompt that I can use. And again, I can edit it, I can change it, I can do whatever. And so this like generate prompt thing is extraordinarily powerful in being able to do it. By the way, as a novelty, this thing right here is just a MindStudio AI agent. It was built with MindStudio and integrated back into MindStudio in order to help people build things with MindStudio. We've got a bunch of these kinds of capabilities in all kinds of parts of MindStudio, where we've used MindStudio to build MindStudio, and you get kind of this recursive inception thingy going. It's pretty crazy. Okay, that's Stock Analyst. And then one last thing I'd like to build for you quickly, and then I'll take questions, okay? Just one more. This is how you get in trouble with MindStudio. You might be up at like 2 a.m., you need to go to sleep, and you're like, I've got another idea, just one more. It happens to me all the time. Be careful. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remix that thing again. I'm going to duplicate our TLDR, because why not? And I'm going to call this thing content to LinkedIn post. Okay. And that's it. So I'm going to do, I'm going to change its name. I'm going to leave this the same. I'm going to leave this the same. I'm going to change one thing on this block right here, and that thing is this behavior here. By default, we've been displaying things back to the user, but we're going to change that here. We're going to say save to a variable. And so whatever comes back from this thing, when we said extract all learnings, what comes back to us? I mean, what do we see in that right-hand pane when I click that TLDR button? We see a bunch of bullet points, okay? And so I'm going to call this thing bullet points. I could have called it summary. I could have called it, I can call it anything I want. I'm going to call it bullets. Okay, there's a bunch of bullet points. Call it what it is. And then, so now we've created a new variable. So we called the model. We gave it all the page content. It came back to us with a bunch of bullet points. We created a new variable called bullets, and we put those bullet points in it. Woohoo, we got now a variable called page content. We got a variable called bullets. We got all these other variables from the past. Now I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to call a model again. And I'm going to ask this model to write a LinkedIn post. I'm also going to add some other things. Use emojis. By the way, I don't have to add these things, but I know if you want LinkedIn posts, LinkedIn loves emojis. And then, and that's it. For now, that's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it those bullets. Except I know that it's best practice. And again, this has nothing to do with MindStudio. This has to do with prompt engineering, with prompting models. That when you give a bunch of content to a model and then also a command, it's good to sort of wrap that content or delineate it in some way. And I'm just going to use the same thing and do this. Okay. So again, this might look like code to you, but this is not code. These are just labels. These are just words. This is a common format where to use these angled brackets kind of looks like HTML. This also looks like HTML. This means end. So whatever is between this and that, the model is going to know that is something, that's some content we're calling bullets. And here we say write a LinkedIn post. A better way more precise way would be write a LinkedIn post about these, and then here bullets. And then this will be ultimately clear to the model what I'm trying to get it to do. I'm giving it these things, I'm calling it bullets. That's actually going to get expanded into like all of those bullet points to this next model. And I'm going to ask it to write a LinkedIn post about these bullets. I also asked it to use emojis. And then I can continue and I can click plus. So far, we've just used this generate text block, but there are many other blocks. In fact, there's 123 blocks in this tab, another 665 blocks in this tab. One of the blocks I know in here to be a create LinkedIn post block. And here it says what account do you want to use. If you haven't used any account, you got to log into some account. OAuth, it's called into it. And then you have access to your accounts. I've got 3 I can use. I'm just going to use this one. And then I can say, it says, what do you want me to post to this Dmitry Shapiro account? And here I'm going to post what? Well, the post, right? We just created a thing called post, or did we? No, we didn't. We forgot. Sorry. Jumping ahead of myself. So we called the model. So let's step back. We trigger this with a browser extension on any web page. We get the page content. We send the page content and the command extract learnings to a model. Whatever comes back, a bunch of bullet points, we save it in a variable called bullets. We then call a model again. We give it those bullets we just got from this and say, write a LinkedIn post about this, use emojis. Here we want to save this to a variable. And this variable I'm going to call post because that's what this is coming back with, a LinkedIn post. So I'm going to call it post. Now I can use that variable in this field here when it says, what do you want me to post to LinkedIn? Well, whatever is in that variable, post. Okay. There's one other thing I want to do because, again, I'm old enough to know that I shouldn't post things publicly that I haven't read because things can go very wrong. And so here I'm going to click plus after I create the post, but before we post it, I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to use a different type of block. This one's called display content. Now, some people get confused between this generate text block because it's got this like big text area and this display content block because it's got this big text area. They are nothing alike. This generate text block calls a model and gets a reply back from the model. This display content block simply displays things back to the user. It doesn't touch any model. It's just a display. It just displays things back to the user. In this case, we're going to display that post that we just created in here. See that post? We're just going to go ahead and display it. And then we're going to pause execution. And then we're going to review it. And if we say yes, then we're going to post it to LinkedIn. Okay. And so that's it. Like not hard. And again, what I want to show you here is like you can continue to add more blocks and use variables to be able to do things in those blocks. And I can say publish. And again, now I can go to this thing and I can find this button much faster. I can say run. By the way, if I wanted to pin it, I could click here and see I could pin it. And there's like other things here, obviously. And then I can either sit here and watch it run, or we like to go to this debugger over here and we can click on this and we can watch it run in real time. And we can see what's happening, right? Like it's instantiated itself. So it started, there it is. It loaded up a bunch of those early variables. There's the metadata variable. It also has all the page content and all that. It's called a model, okay? And it says extract all learnings. And then it went off and gave us all those bullet points. That cost us 9 tenths of a penny. Then we called another model, okay? And now we're paused on this display content block. And if we look here, there is our LinkedIn post. There's like our hashtags. There's some emojis, etc. And if I say next, it's going to post that to LinkedIn. Okay, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to go delete it, but you guys get it. So it's a really easy way to be able to chain all of these things together, pipe them together, and then make all kinds of amazing agents. All of these I've shown you are super simple. simplistic but absurdly powerful. Again, even that like one block pattern that I showed you with the TLDR financial analyst, there's countless superpowers you can build right after this class for yourself, for your friends. These make great gifts. We've seen people doing this, like knowing that their friend does things repetitively and say, look, I made you a gift. Here's an agent that like will free you for congratulations. Okay. Any questions so far before I build more stuff?
I think you're good to build more stuff. Maybe one thing, it's not really part of the builds you normally do, but if you could just go over the logic block and like human in the loop interactions, I think there's a question related to that and kind of conditional logic.
Perfect. Let's have you do it. And I can relax for a bit and do that. Is that cool?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay.
cool.
Awesome.
You guys are in for a treat.
Yeah.
I don't normally do these these things, but I'm
What are you
happy
talking
to.
about? You don't normally do. Like, you do these all the time.
I don't normally do the 2 hour ones. But
Well,
yeah,
you're not
I
doing the
can
two
definitely
hour. You're
talk
just
about it.
doing the. Just show them some of the
I
human
I
loop stuff.
gotcha.
I've never seen you to be shy. You guys seen
No,
Luis
no,
to
no,
be
no,
shy? Like, what is this? Now that Luis is married, he's gotten shy.
no. Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay, so I saw a question about pause commands and if then, and basically all this revolves around human in the what we call human in the loop interactions. And you guys can all see my screen, yeah? Thumbs up, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. And you see like okay, great. So all of these human in the loop interactions are just different blocks that you add to your workflows. So it's really easy to incorporate some of these things. We saw Dimitri showcase the user input block. Did he showcase the user input block, right? Where you can create these Google Forms.
Not yet. That's what I
Oh,
was going to
okay.
build next. But again, feel free
Okay.
and build these things. Like, run with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
I'm
good.
handing this off to you. I'm losing my voice anyway. You can always hand it
Great.
back to me, but
Sure thing. Yeah. So you can use these user input blocks to uh, incorporate these Google Forms style form fields, right? And you simply add the block, and then there's, as you've seen, there's this configuration interface on the right-hand side, and you can add new types of form fields by clicking on the plus button and then clicking on Create New. And this is going to show you a new input inside of this folder called User Inputs. Now, we learned about variables just a moment ago where Dimitri was showcasing that page content variable. And in this case, you can actually name your own variable for whatever you'd like to name it. And the value from what that person enters is saved into this variable. So you can use it later in your workflows. So, for example, I can say something like, what kind of content do you want to make, right? And there's different user input types, and you can see a preview of it on the right-hand side. So this one's a long text. There's a bunch. There's short text. There's the ability to upload files and images and audio. Um, and what we're going to be using is this input called text choice. It's like a multiple choice question. Um, oops, I actually added the label in the wrong place, and we're going to name the variable content type. And you can add different options to these inputs. So I'm going to say something like blog post or social, or maybe we can say LinkedIn post. Maybe we add one more. That is a tweet storm, right? So now we have three options, and this is a point in the workflow where the user, or where we're going to pause in the workflow and wait for a user's response. So if we set this AI agent up in the same way that Dimitri set his AI agent up by clicking on the start block and enabling it in the browser extension, we now have access to that same page content variable, and then we can use that same generate text block in order to create the content that we want to make. So I can say uh, we'll include page content at the top. There we go. And then we can say, based on the content above, create the following. And then we can include the content type underneath. Maybe we want to say something like the following new type of content. Reply only with the new content and nothing else. Okay, so we're taking in that same page content. This is the content that's on any web page. And then we're saying, hey, use that to generate this new thing that we're going to share, potentially on, LinkedIn, just like how Dimitri had it set up, right? So let's go ahead and for now, we can use this display content block, or actually we don't need that. We're going to display this to the user and we're just going to publish this and see what happens. The user input, there we go. And now let's open up this agent. I need to give it a name really quick. Maybe I'll call this multi-content generator. And when we republish, we can go to any website. So let's say The Verge. There's this thing called Warner Brothers mergers. We can open this up. And then inside of my Chrome extension side panel, this might have to do with screen sharing on Zoom, actually. Okay. Let's try this maybe on a different site. Let's go to YouTube. And we'll go to podcast. And we can, here we go. We've got, I don't know, something here. Doesn't really matter what it is. We're gonna use the Chrome extension. There we go. And then we have this new agent that we've just published. Let me make sure I'm in. Oh, I think I was testing stuff and signed out of the Chrome extension. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's run this one more time. So now we have this multi-content generator. I can click on run. And as it's running, it's going to take that page content, and then we should be presented with an option here. So you see now we have this human in the loop interaction. There are many kinds that we can add. And we can say, I want to create a tweet storm about the content in this video. So let me go ahead and click on tweet storm. And then you can see here that based on the content, we get each of these tweets. We could obviously format this much nicer, but this is awesome. We can now begin to use this piece of content. So that's one human in the loop interaction. That's really easy, one of the most basic types. The other type is, well, this is not human in the loop, but we were talking about if-then statements and sort of creating conditional logic, right? And we actually have a block for that where we can, if we click on view all blocks and we scroll down, we can find this called the logic block. And this logic block is going to, it's going to create two different branching routes in your workflow. So you can give it any sort of context, and you create these conditions, and if either of these, whichever conditions met, it will route in that direction. So a good example of this, I'm gonna just make another workflow here, just to show you how it works. And we're gonna create a user input, and this user input is going to have a variable called comment. And we can say, what did you think? Right? So whatever they type in is going to be saved as the comment. And in our workflow, we can use a logic block, and we can include um, the context and say the following is a comment from a user. And we can showcase the comment, right? And then we can put conditions. And in this case, in our example, we're going to say the comment is positive. And in the other one, we're going to say the comment is negative. And then based off of these conditions, we can add other blocks and route this to different blocks. So for example, if I have these two display content blocks in this case, or maybe we have two generate text blocks. One is going to show the comment and say, reply to this comment uh, thanking the user, right? And we can give it the comment, right? So if this is positive, we want it to say thank you. And if it's negative, let's say uh, we want it to ask, why or what the issue was. Um, so we'll do the same thing. We'll have the comment and we'll say based on the comment above, infer what upset the user. Okay. And so let's take a look at what a workflow like this would look like. So we're taking in a comment. We're using AI to determine, using kind of like this conditional logic to determine whether or not that comment was positive or negative. And then we're doing different things based on where the AI routes this workflow. So let's double check. Logic block must not be empty. Oh, that doesn't matter. That's in our other workflow. Okay, and we will go ahead and open the draft. Oops, we need to make this the entry workflow. You can right click and find all sorts of menus. Let's make this our entry workflow and open the draft agent. And let's start by giving it a positive comment. Wow, that was such a great example. Good job. And its response was a thank you, right? Now let's go ahead and try this one more time. And we can say, your example sucks. You should uh, never do that again. And in this case, it tried to infer why the user was upset, right? So you have this sort of conditional logic that you're able to add in these various AI agents that you end up building. And it's super easy, right? It's just a couple of blocks. And if you can determine the path that you want your AI agents to take, it becomes really easy to create these different workflows that have all sorts of different outcomes based on, things that you view online, things that you end up generating, any sort of information that you input into these things. So I hope that answered the question. Dimitri, are you still there? Maybe we can open up the floor for some questions,
I am
or
still
if there's
here.
anything else you'd like to cover regarding
No,
this feature.
I think question sounds great.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Any questions?
Hi, this is Ellen
Hey,
Blackwood.
Alan.
Do you have a like thumbs up, thumbs down capability available so that you can record user feedback on your agents?
You could certainly build one with MindStudio. I mean, we have a, multiple choice user input that would allow you to ask the user for a thumbs up, thumbs down on things. So it just depends on what it is you are building. But yeah.
And a rating input.
Yeah. Or, again, real thumbs up, thumbs down with vibe coded stuff. So short
Hmm.
answer is many yeses.
Okay, so if I created an agent or assistant, I could build some way into that with MindStudio to capture feedback on the response.
Yeah, so yeah, your question is a bit ambiguous, but I'm certain whatever you're trying to do, which is if somebody's interacting with your agent, is what I'm hearing, can
Yes.
you capture the response and get their feedback? The answer is yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Even better than that, if you want to, edit that response in, real time and check in and say, hey, is this something that is okay, for example, is okay to post on LinkedIn? We have a block called a checkpoint block, which will actually check in with the user, present the generated content that you specify, and you can chat with the agent to make updates to that piece of generated content.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, generally you will find that there are multiple ways, if not many ways, to do things with MindStudio, kind of the way you want to work.
Great. One more question. Um, where do you stand in terms of your platform security? Like, is it SOC 2 compliant now or
Mhm.
excellent?
Yeah, if you can see on our homepage a thing we call Trust Center. We are SOC 2 Type 2 compliant and audited. We're GDPR compliant. We're finishing up ISO 27001 compliance. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, this is Jason Goldberg. I asked a question in the chat, but I don't know if anyone saw it. Do you is are do
Perfect.
you can you
Ask it
build
here. Huh?
like non-web based agents for or not? I'm sure you can, but how would you do something if you wanted to, let's say, I think the examples I said is organize files on your computer or like relabel them for you or categorize them for you or
Yeah.
I don't know, just
So,
things that aren't web based, I guess.
mhm. Well, so again, there's like web-based uh, so again, let's take your example of on your computer. Okay. It doesn't matter if the thing is web-based or not. It just needs access to your computer. And then it could be on your computer. And if it has access through some kind of a proxy, then you could leverage that data on the computer, use the web-based thing to be able to analyze it and be able to drive things on your computer. There's nothing at this moment that we have that installs on your computer that gives the agents access to your file system. And so this would need to be a third party thing that, you would need to find. But if you did, then it's really easy to get the agent to connect to that thing. If that thing more than likely will expose an API or will export things out of your file system, and then it itself will call an API that the AI agent can expose. So there's ways to integrate this running in the cloud, but integrate it with things that are sitting not in the cloud, sitting inside of your perimeter or on your computer or whatever, somewhere else. Does that make
Oh, okay, but
sense?
you're saying at the moment you can't do it locally, use
Not
it
with
locally.
not with just MindStudio. That's right.
Got it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know. Somebody else has asked me about this before. I should probably do some research. Okay. Offhand, I don't know like what thing is available to run on your computer to expose it. There's like a bunch of obviously potential security concerns and things like that to doing that. But I suspect that, I mean, there's nothing technically that's preventing one, that from existing, and two, you from potentially even just vibe coding that thing. And then it's easy to integrate it to MindStudio. Like that part's easy. Yakov?
Yeah, I wanted to know. So you showed us how there's the prompt generator to kind of help build,
Mhm.
much more detailed, elegant, and thought out prompts. Would that work, kind of to go step by step through these multi-step kind of chains that you showed us and properly format the syntax where it's pulling the, kind of the bullets from one and the posts from the next and to generate the final process? Or you still need to learn the syntax of how to send, collect and send information from agent to agent in those flows?
Yeah, we encourage people, strongly encourage people to learn to build agents manually, and so that you understand how all of it works. But once you've done that, and again, you can do that in, I would say half a day to a day of real focus, or if you come to our boot camp, in 2 days, we'll take you deep, deep, deep into it. So it's very learnable. You can learn to do all of this stuff later today by going to this Learn section, watching some of these tutorials, or going to documentation and following some of these basically guides of doing this stuff. Really easy to do. Thousands of people have learned to do it on their own without any boot camps or whatever. But once you've learned to build agents on your own, you don't actually necessarily have to build them manually. You guys are seeing my screen, yeah? I can say build new agent, and right here on this main automation screen of a workflow, there's a button called Generate Agent. You remember we had a button here when we did full screen, this was generate the prompt for this model call. But here what we're going to do is we're actually going to generate the agent, the entire agent. And so I clicked that, it opened up a new tab. And as I mentioned earlier, this is just a MindStudio agent. It was built with MindStudio, and now it's integrated back into MindStudio is this button. Opens up in a new tab, and it says, what do you want your agent to do? And you can describe to it what it is that you want it to do, and push this button, and it might ask you some questions, and then it'll build it for you. I'll just use this like recommended thing, track changes to a website and email me updates, right? And so it's going to evaluate this, which again is actually quite a ambiguous, right, thing. And it wants to ask us some questions. Great use case. Let me ask you a few questions. What specific websites do you want to track? TechMeme, we can always change it later, .com, right? How often would you like to check? Daily at 9 a.m. Pacific. Are you interested in tracking the entire website, specific sections or element, entire page? This is going to be tracking a web page. What kind of changes are most important to me? Any changes? Do you want simple notification? Something's changed. Would you prefer to see exactly what content was added? Exactly. Okay. And then I can say, cool. It says, okay, I got you. Thanks, lazy human. And then it's going to go off and it's going to do a bunch of work. It's going to create a plan. And then it's going to, by the way, as I mentioned, this thing itself is just an agent. And as you can see, it's running itself, and it's creating a spec here, a draft spec. Then it's going to take us to this checkpoint block, which Luis mentioned, that it's going to allow us to modify that spec in some way if we want to. And then we're going to say that's great. See, this is the checkpoint block. It says, here's what I'm going to build. I'm going to call it website tracker, daily monitoring checks, TechMeme, 9 a.m. Pacific. Cool, this all looks good to me. If I want to change anything, I can talk back and forth with it, say change this, move that, whatever. I can just say build. And then this thing is going to go off. And again, it knows about MindStudio blocks. It knows about how MindStudio architecture should work in agents. And it will build for us the agent. Now, sometimes the agent is exactly what you want it, and you can just run it, and congratulations. Sometimes the agent is not exactly what you want. And that's why we say if you know how to build, then you can just modify it quickly. If you don't know how to build, you might get stuck and then get, et cetera. But But that's it. So this is, yeah. And again, sometimes this takes even a couple of minutes to run, but still faster than you would do it. And so there's a bunch of these types of things that are inside of MindStudio that are helpers. Again, today we've learned, 5% of that, 2% of MindStudio. There's much more to learn. But it's all kind of like that, meaning it's not harder than that. And certainly if you come to like a bootcamp, says, great, I've built you your agent. Congrats, here's the agent. There it is, and that's it. And yeah, I can then like modify it and do whatever. Okay, so a bunch of things to explore. Again, I highly encourage you to not stop, to go to this learn section, spend some time on these. These are awesome. This is Luis mostly that's done these. These are great. And you can just follow them in order or not in order. It's up to you, but in order works. And you will learn a bunch of things. Give yourself a few hours. You're going to be feeling like, oh, I can build a bunch of agents. You're going to be building agents. You're going to be quite proficient in a few hours. If you give yourself 10 hours over time, you're going to be much more proficient. You want to come to a boot camp? Come to a boot camp. We're going to take you through all the paces. You're going to be ultimately proficient and certified. Level 1. There's also a 30-day boot camp that you can attend. You can get level 3 certification. A bunch of people here have been through that. Just learn much more. By the way, there's a number of universities that are going to start offering the MindStudio 30-day boot camp as their continuing education curriculum. Yeah, the first one up is San Diego State University, and then looks like UCSD and University of Southern Mississippi, other folks. So like you can take it at your alma mater perhaps as well if you want a certificate from them. Cool. Okay. All right, guys. Well, look, again, most folks here already have heard all the answers. So it's a small number. Typically, we have many more. So there's many more questions. So if we don't have them, we can give folks, 35 minutes back. Otherwise, if you've got questions, happy to answer more.
Hey, Dimitri, this is Solomon here. I just had a quick question for you. Right now, I'm working at an internship for a company, and I want to link my SharePoint into MindStudio using the API. I'm not sure too much how that works. I've given them a link or something like that, and I've turned on certain permissions from Microsoft's developer page because I think I need to do that to get it running. But I haven't been able to actually pull any information yet. I'm just wondering, is there a common bug I'm running into?
Not that I know of. It's probably misconfiguration. The best way to get these things solved, again, for everyone, join our Slack community.
Okay.
All of these folks that you see here that are certified are active there. You can ask questions there. They might be able to help you. Our team is there. We might be able to help you. We can help you figure out where you're, it's misconfiguration, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a really friendly community. So take advantage of it.
For sure. Yeah. And is there a link? I see someone asked in the chat there.
I'm sure there is a link. Let's see. Did anybody find it yet? Or I can do it too. Here we go. Invite people, copy invite link. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming. We'll see you in Slack. Yeah. And then if anybody shows up out of this group to our next boot camp, then we'll really see you, a lot of you. All right, guys, be well. Take care.
Thank you very much, Dmitry.
My pleasure.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.